Ozzy Osbourne is gone, and the world is still in shock. But while millions mourn the Prince of Darkness, what's happening behind the scenes is even more heartbreaking. Sharon Osbourne, the woman who stood by him through every storm, is unraveling. In silence, grief has consumed her, but is it something even more terrifying? From whispers of a private garden burial to emotional breakdowns behind closed doors, this story is far from over. Stick with us, because what you're about to discover will change everything you thought you knew about Sharon, Ozzy, and the final chapter of their legendary love story. Ozzy Osbourne was never just a rock star, he was a force of nature. From his rough beginnings in Aston, Birmingham, to becoming the global face of heavy metal with Black Sabbath, he lived life on his own terms. But his final days were surprisingly quiet. After a brutal fall in 2019 that left him with a painful spinal injury, Ozzy's health began deteriorating rapidly. He had secretly been battling Parkinson's disease since 2003, a truth he only revealed in 2020. Despite the public image of a wild man who once bit the head off a bat, those closest to him saw a man in pain, one who had quietly accepted his fate. In the final months, Ozzy made a powerful decision. He wanted to go home. He didn't want hospital lights or media chaos. He wanted Sharon, his children, and the peaceful quiet of the home they had built together. Jack, Kelly, and Amy Osbourne gathered by his side. They held his hand, played music, and filled the house with memories instead of sorrow. The haunting melody of Changes by Black Sabbath played on loop just days before he passed. Ozzy looked at Sharon and said, "I'm not afraid anymore." At the age of 76, Ozzy Osbourne died peacefully, surrounded by the people he loved most. The news sent shockwaves around the world. Hashtags like #RipOzzy trended immediately. Vigils were held outside his childhood home in Birmingham and his longtime residence in California. Radio stations played his classics. Streaming services crashed under the weight of fans revisiting their favorite tracks. But inside the Osbourne household, something far more haunting was taking shape. Sharon Osbourne, known for her unshakable spirit, completely shut down. Friends say she stopped speaking altogether. She ignored phone calls, avoided her children, and spent hours sitting in silence, either in Ozzy's studio or beneath the large oak tree in their garden. According to one insider, it's like a part of her died with him, and perhaps it did. This wasn't the Sharon Osbourne the world knew, the one who stood toe-to-toe with executives on The X Factor, or who defended her family fearlessly during the chaotic years of the Osbournes reality show. This was someone broken, someone slipping away. Her children noticed the shift. Kelly reportedly begged her mother to see a therapist. Jack tried to get her out of the house. Amy, who had always remained more private, began raising legal questions behind the scenes, but Sharon wasn't listening. She had something else in mind. Days after Ozzy's death, she called for an emergency meeting, not to plan a memorial, but to issue a demand that stunned even her closest advisors. She wanted to bury Ozzy Osbourne in their garden. Yes, not in a family vault or a public memorial site, not even in Hollywood Forever Cemetery. She wanted him buried right there beneath the rose garden he loved, and more shockingly, right next to the grave of their beloved bulldog, Lola. When the family's lawyer tried to explain that such a burial required complicated permits under UK law, Sharon stared him down and said, "He built this home. He bled in this home. He'll rest in this home." Jack Osbourne supported her. He believed it was what his father would have wanted, but Kelly couldn't take it. She burst into tears and reportedly screamed, "Mom, you're not thinking straight. You can't just bury him next to the dog." Despite her children's divided opinions, Sharon had already begun planning the grave. A black marble headstone was commissioned from a designer in Italy. The burial site was to be sealed off completely. Private. No fan access, no press, no memorials. The backlash was immediate. Devoted fans who had followed Ozzy for decades were outraged. One wrote on social media, "He was our Prince of Darkness, not just hers. We worshipped him. Now we can't even say goodbye." Public opinion turned harsh. TV hosts debated her mental health. Online petitions circulated, demanding a public funeral, but Sharon stood firm. The garden burial remained her plan, and it was already in motion. This wasn't just a controversial decision, it was a signal that Sharon Osbourne might be losing control. Reports from inside the estate became more troubling. Staff members described her wandering the halls at night, whispering to shadows. Others said she lit candles throughout the home, read books about reincarnation and life after death, and spent nights sleeping in Ozzy's old chair. Jack Osbourne began confiding in close friends. Admitting he was terrified, he said, "We've never seen Mom like this. We're scared this grief might swallow her whole." Amy Osbourne, who had largely stayed out of the family's public life, was now reportedly pushing for legal protections to ensure Ozzy's last wishes were honored. She feared that Sharon, in her fragile state, might make irreversible decisions based solely on emotion. Then came the revelations about Ozzy's will a year before his death. He had revised it, while Sharon remained the primary inheritor of his $220 million estate. Amy was excluded from portions of the inheritance allegedly to protect her from the public battle Ozzy feared would follow. There were also personal letters handwritten, notes Ozzy had prepared for each child and for Sharon. They weren't legal documents. They were emotional, raw, farewells in ink. Some say they'll one day be part of a documentary. Others insist they were meant to stay private forever. Even more intriguing than the chaos surrounding Ozzy Osbourne's will and funeral plans is the whisper of unreleased music songs he recorded in his final years while quietly battling illness. These tracks, reportedly emotional and deeply personal, are said to be locked in a private vault, saved for a world without him, according to Sharon Osbourne. They weren't meant for commercial gain. They were meant to preserve his voice, his soul, and his truth long after he was gone. Now, however, that vault may be at the center of a looming legal storm. Old bandmates, former collaborators, and even distant relatives are reportedly preparing to challenge Sharon's control over Ozzy's musical legacy. Some claim they were promised shares. Others allege creative rights. The details remain murky. But the threat is very real. The chaos that defined Ozzy's life, the controversies, the scandals, the rebellion may now define his death as well. Meanwhile, Sharon Osbourne has vanished from the public eye. Once a sharp-tongued media queen who dominated reality TV and primetime panels, she now refuses to leave the estate she once shared with her husband. Staff members say she speaks aloud to Ozzy as if he's still alive, talking to his empty chair, his photos, and the studio where he used to create. The vibrant woman who once commanded every room she walked into now wanders the halls like a shadow. Friends and close insiders describe a woman trapped in grief so profound it has become its own reality. What started as understandable mourning has taken a darker turn. Panic attacks, hallucinations, emotional breakdowns. These aren't rumors anymore. They are witnessed, lived, and quietly feared by those around her. Mental health professionals believe Sharon may be suffering from complicated grief, a psychological condition where mourning becomes a chronic, consuming state of being. It distorts reality, suspends healing, and makes it nearly impossible to move on. For Sharon, the pain isn't just about losing a spouse, it's about losing the person who defined her identity. She wasn't just Ozzy's wife, she was his manager, his protector, his partner in war through the madness of fame, addiction, and recovery. His death wasn't just a loss, it was an unraveling of everything she had built her world around. Now, the home that once echoed with laughter, chaos, and love has turned into something else entirely, a mausoleum. Ozzy's guitars still hang on the walls, untouched, his favorite. Cher remains in the corner, as though he'll come back any minute. The music room, once filled with creativity and energy, now plays old recordings on loop, like a ghostly echo of what once was. Sharon walks by his seat, pauses, whispers something, then moves on. Her world paused in a moment that the rest of us have already passed. Whether this is a tragic love story or a mental unraveling depends on who you ask. Some view Sharon Osbourne's behavior as a raw expression of undying love, a woman so bonded to her husband that she simply can't say goodbye. Others see warning signs, emotional isolation, detachment from reality, and grief consuming her completely. But one thing is certain, Sharon Osbourne is not okay. Each day she remains hidden from the world. Concern grows. Her children Jack, Kelly, and Amy Osbourne can only watch in fear as their once indomitable mother fades. Friends whisper to the media. Fans send love and plead for updates, but still, silence. While the world mourns the loss of Ozzy Osbourne, a man who gave a voice to the broken and misfits, there's another loss quietly unfolding. Sharon, without Ozzy, is drifting in a grief so deep that even his music, their shared legacy, can't seem to pull her back. Now, the legend rests, but the story isn't over. If this tribute moved you, like, share, and subscribe to honor Ozzy Osbourne's legacy and support those navigating the pain of loss. Drop your favorite Ozzy memory in the comments below, and remember, sometimes the loudest echoes come from silence. Legends never die, they just turn up the volume. Thanks for watching.